For the first time since World War II, reports say a U.S. submarine has torpedoed and sunk an enemy warship. But the real story is not what went down off Sri Lanka. It is what Iran may do next, and why the Strait of Hormuz could become the most dangerous water on Earth. If the reporting is accurate, the loss of the Iranian frigate IRIS Dena means more than one ship destroyed. It shows the United States can track and strike Iranian naval forces far beyond the Persian Gulf. And once that becomes clear, the strategic picture changes. According to current reporting, on March 4, 2026, the Iranian frigate IRIS Dena was sunk off the coast of Sri Lanka, reportedly by a U.S. submarine-fired torpedo. Sri Lankan authorities reportedly rescued 32 sailors and recovered bodies from the water. If confirmed, this is historic. Not because one frigate was lost, but because of what it proves. Until now, most people viewed the U.S.-Iran naval confrontation through one narrow lens: the Persian Gulf, the Gulf of Oman, and above all, the Strait of Hormuz. That was the assumed battle space. That was the map on which most analysts imagined the next clash. This strike blows that assumption apart. The Dena was not operating inside a narrow Gulf choke point. It was thousands of kilometers from the center of the usual confrontation zone. That matters, because now every Iranian naval commander has to live with a new reality. Distance is no longer safety. The Indian Ocean is no longer a back area. Transit is no longer routine. And once a navy loses sanctuary, it loses confidence. This is where a tactical victory turns into a strategic risk. Yes, the United States demonstrates overwhelming undersea reach. Yes, it proves Iranian surface ships can be hunted far from home. But that kind of success creates a trap. When a state realizes it cannot win conventionally at sea, it stops playing by conventional naval rules. And that is exactly where Iran becomes most dangerous. Iran does not need to defeat the U.S. Navy in a fleet battle. It does not need blue water superiority. It does not need to sink a carrier to create a crisis. It only needs to make global shipping, insurance, and energy markets believe that the region is no longer predictable. That is the real battlefield now. Because the moment Iran loses room to respond with prestige at sea, it becomes more likely to respond with pressure, denial, and economic pain. Not necessarily with a mirror image strike, but with layered escalation. And the most powerful lever in Iran's hands is still the same one it has always had: the Strait of Hormuz. Because when a U.S. submarine sinks an Iranian warship off Sri Lanka, the signal does not stop at the wreck. It moves across sea lanes, oil routes, tanker markets, insurance desks, and military headquarters from the Gulf to the Indian Ocean. And the question that follows is much bigger than who landed the torpedo. The question is, what kind of retaliation creates the most fear with the lowest cost? This is the part most people get wrong. They see a warship on the bottom and think the story is over. Case closed. U.S. dominance. End of discussion. No, that is the beginning of the real story. Because a torpedo strike is simple. A clear target, a clear outcome, a clear line of military action. Iran's response options are the opposite. They are distributed. They are layered. They are designed to spread uncertainty across the map. One front can be Hormuz, another can be the Red Sea, another can be U.S. or allied infrastructure under drone and missile pressure. None of this needs a decisive battlefield victory to matter. It only needs to make the region more expensive, more unstable, and much harder to control. That is the trap inside this conflict. The stronger the United States looks in direct naval combat, the more likely Iran shifts to cheaper, dirtier, less predictable methods that are much harder to contain politically. And this is where Hormuz becomes the real center of gravity. The Strait of Hormuz is one of the most important maritime choke points on the planet. Roughly 20% of global oil and LNG flows move through that corridor. That is why every naval incident in this region matters far beyond the ship that gets hit. Because the real question is never just what was sunk. The real question is what becomes more expensive, more dangerous, and more unstable after that sinking. If Iran wants to retaliate without immediately triggering full conventional destruction, Hormuz gives it options. Not easy options, not safe options, but options. Mining pressure, harassment of commercial shipping, missile ambiguity from the coastline, drone surveillance, fast boat intimidation, escalation just below the threshold of absolute war until the markets panic anyway. That is Iran's real leverage. It does not need to close Hormuz completely to create global consequences. Even partial disruption, intermittent attacks, or credible mine threats can spike insurance costs, reroute traffic, and push energy markets upward. That is why pressure on Hormuz is more dangerous than the loss of one frigate. A warship sinking is a military event. Pressure on Hormuz is a world event. And now add the second front. If pressure builds in Hormuz while the Red Sea also starts heating up through proxy action, the cost multiplies. At that point, this is no longer a single maritime crisis. It becomes a networked pressure campaign across two of the most important shipping corridors on Earth. That is why the Indian Ocean detail matters so much. Sri Lanka changes the geometry of the story. This is no longer just a Persian Gulf confrontation. This is now an Indian Ocean problem too. Once the battlespace stretches into the wider Indian Ocean, several things happen at the same time. First, Iran has to assume its naval movements can be watched at a much greater range. Second, shipping firms and insurers have to assume the conflict is geographically larger than previously advertised. Third, every country sitting along the sea lanes between the Gulf, India, East Africa, and Southeast Asia has to take the risk more seriously. That is how a regional naval incident becomes an international commercial problem. Not because everyone joins the war, but because everyone now has to price the risk of it. And once shipping risk, energy risk, and military escalation start pointing at the same map, military analysts and financial analysts suddenly begin looking at the same crisis through different lenses. That is when the story gets bigger than the torpedo. What are Iran's most likely next moves after Dena? The answer is probably not one spectacular strike. It is layered escalation, pressure in Hormuz, proxy activity in the Red Sea, and the constant threat of direct missile or drone retaliation hanging in the background. Option 1 is the fastest and most powerful: tighten pressure on Hormuz. This is Iran's strongest direct lever because it creates global consequences fast. About 20% of the world's oil and LNG flows through Hormuz, and even limited disruption can hit prices, shipping costs, and insurance rates almost immediately. From Tehran's perspective, this kind of pressure hits Washington, Europe, Asia, Gulf exporters, and global trade all at once. Option 2 is proxy escalation through the Red Sea. This is the most flexible route. If pressure appears in Hormuz and the Red Sea at the same time, the crisis expands from one maritime theater into a wider commercial shock zone. Tehran gains leverage, plausible deniability, and another front without necessarily taking the full risk of a direct attack on a U.S. carrier. Option 3 is the threat of direct missile or drone retaliation. That could mean a U.S. carrier, a regional base, or key air defense infrastructure. It would be the most dramatic response, and the riskiest for Tehran. A successful strike on a major U.S. asset would almost certainly trigger a much heavier American retaliation. That is why this option works best as a threat, while actually using it could push the war far beyond the original exchange. So the most likely response may not be one strike, but a layered campaign designed to spread uncertainty without instantly triggering maximum U.S. retaliation. And that is where the real danger begins. Because once Hormuz, the Red Sea, and regional missile incidents start interacting, this stops being a local naval clash. It becomes a maritime crisis, stretching from the Persian Gulf to the Indian Ocean, across the trade routes that power the global economy. This is also where Washington's dilemma becomes brutal. If the United States does not respond hard enough, it risks looking weak. If it responds too effectively against conventional targets, it may push the conflict even deeper into asymmetric escalation. That is the trap. You can destroy ships, you can hit missile sites, you can strike infrastructure, but you cannot bomb uncertainty out of global shipping markets. And once the conflict becomes a contest over choke points, drones, proxies, mines, and insurance panic, military superiority still matters, but it no longer solves everything. That is why the sinking of IRIS Dena may be remembered not just as a naval success, but as the moment the war entered a broader and more dangerous phase. That is the real lesson. One warship on the bottom does not mean the danger is over. It may mean the old battlefield is over. Because the next phase is not just about frigates and torpedoes. It is about choke points, proxies, energy shock, and maritime fear. And in that kind of conflict, the first ship to sink is rarely the last system to suffer. And the next video almost writes itself. Because Iran still has one escalation tool naval commanders fear more than a single missile, more than a fast boat, and sometimes even more than a torpedo. Drone swarms, not one drone, not 10, but waves of low-cost attack drones launched at ships, bases, and air defenses at the same time until the sky itself becomes the weapon. In the next video, we break down exactly how Iran's drone swarm and chokepoint strategy could work in a real naval escalation, and why even the world's strongest navy cannot ignore cheap, layered threats once the defenses start running out of time. Like and subscribe. See you in the next one.